Thank you for joining us. That's my voiceover voice.
I like it. I'm hiring you right now.
Happy New Year. Thank you. And let's just kick it off. I'm sure everyone here knows who you lovely ladies are, but for those of you who don't, let's start here and work our way down. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Aliza Pearl. I am an actor, a writer, an improviser, and a professional Trekkie. I do a lot of Star Trek fan projects. Most notably, I've done a Geek and Sundry Star Trek Adventures RPG called Shield of Tomorrow. It's all up on YouTube. We don't play it anymore currently, but it's like a year of RPG campaign. It's like hours and hours of content. I've also done a lot of other like sci-fi and genre RPG stuff. I got to do a Carnival Row official in-world RPG earlier last year in the summer. And I'm an official Carnival Row character from our RPG, like in the show. You can see a blip of me in the show, which is fun. And I also write and direct and produce a lot of different things that are in the sci-fi and Star Trek genre place. Working on some current projects that aren't in fruition yet, but they will be. That's me.
Yay.
Hey guys, my name's Gigi Edgley. I played Chiana on Farscape, and I'm the host of Jim Henson's Creature Shop Challenge.
Why are you speaking so low?
Hello. I don't know how close to go. And I've worked with Michele before on Star Trek Continues, which was amazing. I've also worked with this extraordinary gentleman right here, Mr. Christian Wilson, who's a very fine actor himself, and we've done several projects together that were crowdfunded, and he's been a huge part of that, producing and acting and also playing creatures and all sorts of things that we forced him to do. So thank you, Christian, for coming all this way today.
Good sport.
Yes, but yeah, we do a lot of our own projects now. There's a couple of things that have been bubbling. One project's called Hashtag and another one's called Nexus. They were short films that worked their way around the festival circuit, and now we're transforming them into bigger feature films. So yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Nakia Burisse, and I do nothing.
Get out.
Get out. Most people know me from Power Rangers. Power Rangers Zeo, Power Rangers Turbo, and the Turbo movie, but I've gone on to do much more than Power Rangers, but nobody seems to care. Because they're always like, whoa, Power Rangers. And I've recently gone into producing as well, and I didn't know that I had the love for producing. It's so much fun, like creating your own stuff. I was having an interview earlier with this young man over here, and
Hi, young man.
That's something that I talked about just briefly about producing your own stuff, being in charge of your own is so important. That's me.
Yay. Hi, everybody. My name is Michele Specht. I am play Dr. McKenna on a streaming series, Star Trek Continues, that finishes out the original 5-year mission of the original series of Star Trek. And I also play a couple of reoccurring roles in Star Trek Online. That's kind of like the most of the sci-fi stuff. Holy crap, Mr. Specht actually just walked through. No, I'm not. Okay, no one walked through that door. That man does not exist. Don't look at him. Yeah. So, yes, that's who I am.
So let's go ahead and just dive right in. Like, this panel is the women of sci-fi. So let's start about, like, what drew you to the genre? Oh, you want to talk about me?
Yeah, who the hell are you?
Thank you.
You don't want to hear about me.
No.
Yes.
All right. My name is Jackie Dallas. I am an actress. I do mostly television. I'm best known for my role on Stranger Things. I was in season 1. I played the teacher's girlfriend. Since then, I've done a couple of other Netflix projects. I can't really talk about a whole lot of them now. I've worked on an awesome film last year with William Shatner and Jerry Ryan. So that's my one step into that universe with y'all. It's called The Devil's Revenge. It's out now. It's available on Amazon Prime. Where are you pointing? Oh, sorry. I keep misinterpreting all your gestures.
They're Australian.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me. Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I
wasn't ready to talk about myself.
I didn't mention anything of Star Trek. So I did Star Trek Continues as well with that person back there that you're not
Who
supposed to
doesn't
look at.
exist. He's invisible. Don't look at him. Don't look at
Michele.
him.
And Gigi.
Seriously, everyone is a Trek.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah, we're all Trek.
Next
yeah.
year.
All right,
2020.
all right.
Women of
Let's
Star
do
Trek.
this.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now I forgot my question. Oh yeah, sci-fi. Tell me what drew you to the genre of sci-fi, how you got into it, and what you love about it. Let's start over there.
Yeah. Go to the loud one. I actually was a Star Trek nerd before I got involved in any amalgamation of the franchise. But what I always loved about sci-fi was that as a very awkward young person who felt very outside of everything and was not comfortable in my own skin, the world of sci-fi felt very welcoming. It felt like anything was possible. It was incredibly imaginative. It allowed you to transport yourself and become somebody that you weren't, which of course any awkward teenager or early stage actor would love. And it really was my first escape, but it was through literature first. And Star Trek came around, basically Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation. That was the first serial series I started watching, starting from the very first episode with whatever that fuzzy octopus puppet in space was. Did anybody else remember that? What the hell was that? Kind of went from there. So for me, it was just a very comforting kind of world to play in when I was younger and did not feel comfortable myself. But I think nowadays what we love about science fiction is how it differs from fantasy, the fact that it is based in a kind of a plausible, fantastical future, if that makes sense. There are things we can actually look for in physics and in technology that are possible, like in our kind of wildest edges of our imagination, things that might come to be. I mean, Star Trek already had so many things come to be, and Uhura's communicators with Bluetooth, and they had their little, the communicators were like, flip phones, that kind of thing. So things like that have already come to pass, so I don't know. That's kind of...
I agree. I think that's really cool because they explained the parameters of the world, of the universe, right? But then it's still very grounded with real characters and how people would actually react and stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch a lot of sci-fi growing up. In later years, would Power Rangers be considered sci-fi?
Yeah.
To you guys? Okay. Because we've had a conversation about
am I?
Is it? So I guess that would be my first experience acting in a somewhat sci-fi thing, saving the world and morphing. And I'm asked that question all the time. How did you morph? I was like, I really don't want to crush your spirit by telling you what we really did. But I love. I think Michele was saying just a whole lot of things that I agree with. But I love having the being able to explore outside worlds, being able to explore something outside of what we naturally see. That is always fun. I love that she said she was an awkward teenager. I think we all went through.
God, I hope so. I really hope.
You weren't the only one. So I just enjoy creating characters and fantasy and exploring as much as I possibly can. I just love it. I just love it all. I don't know if I answered the question, but there you go.
You're gonna kill me because I was never into sci-fi. I was not a big sci-fi geek at all, and where my passion was the phantasmagorical more than the sci-fi, like the dragons and the mermaids and the unicorns and the fairies. I never quite connected. I don't know whether didn't quite happen for me until Farscape, and Farscape was my first long-term acting job, and that was my first real introduction into sci-fi, and I've never been able to look back. So now I'm such a hardcore sci-fi geek that our child is called Skywalker. So I've gone from one extreme to the next. So thanks for having me. But my first true love was always Dark Crystal and The Labyrinth and The Neverending Story, and that was just like, and again, never really knew how to connect to proper human beings, so dressing up as a fairy or speaking to unicorns in the corner made more sense to me than speaking to normal people, and somehow it landed me an acting job after an acting job, and it's been a very long journey, and I've loved every moment of it. And sci-fi, it's funny because all the work I've done pretty much in the States has been sci-fi, because they've known me from Farscape. But my main body of work after I did Farscape was all very drama, comedy, girl next door, doctor, nurses type of stuff for a good 10, 15 years in Australia. But then I came over here, and as soon as I got here, they looked back to my American stuff, which is sci-fi. So they've just re-entered me into sci-fi stuff. So it's quite interesting how you get channeled into certain things in different countries and everything. But yeah, I love it very much now, and thank you for having me.
I am a sci-fi fan. From birth. I grew up in the TNG era. I was a kid during TNG. Growing up, I watched TNG and TOS, and then little sprinkles of DS9 and Voyager. My dad was really into Voyager when I was a kid. I think he had a crush on 7 of 9, to be honest. Because I just remember him like paying a lot of attention.
I had a crush on 7 of 9.
Yeah, she was like super into her. And you're right, who wouldn't be? Mm-hmm. And so I had this, like, I've started calling it the dark years, where I was still like watching Star Trek here and there, but I was like, I had moved out to LA, I was early 20s, like working towards being an actress, going on audition after audition and booking stuff here and there, but really feeling kind of lost. And I realized that I had lost touch with like who I was and my own like personal interests. And so I started doing improv, and I started going to space events like at JPL and lectures and NASA things. And then I also started going to Star Trek conventions and Comic-Cons. And those 3 things just unlocked my creativity. And also at that time, the big thing that really got me out of this like rut I was in creatively was that I decided to start watching Star Trek all the way through chronologically. And I actually started from TOS though, not Enterprise, because I felt like, I gotta start with TOS. So I watched all of TOS and then Enterprise, and then made my way through all the other canon stuff. And it just kind of like broke me out of this complacency. I started feeling like, this is the stuff that I love. This is the stuff that inspires me. And these are the stories that I want to tell. I want to be an actor in these things. And since then, it's just been like off to the races. Like I started working for Nerdist as a writer, and Geek and Sundry doing RPG stuff. And I have been writing like crazy and doing improvised Star Trek like crazy. And just like, I haven't stopped since then. So Star Trek saved my creative career, basically.
That's great.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
I think one of the common threads we all have here is that we're all actors. We wear a lot of different hats, but we are still actresses. What do you say are some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you started out in this industry, whether it be starting out as an actor in general, or the fact that we are women, or any other factors that might have imposed something along the way?
Okay. I used to, so when I was on Power Rangers, I was also in a singing group. So I also sing. So we had a production deal, and so I was doing Power Rangers, I was doing singing, I was doing everything that I wanted to do, and I was exhausted. And I remember asking God, I was like, I just want to rest. Don't ever ask him that. Don't ever ask him that. Like, I feel like I've been resting ever since. Like it hasn't been as busy. But what I found in this industry, sometimes people want favors, if you know what I mean. I'm not the one. And so I encountered some of that, which is why I left the music industry. And I know this is kind of a sticky situation with the whole Me Too and all of that stuff, but I'm just being honest. I think that if you are a woman and you're trying to get further inside of your, there's women that have hit those roadblocks. I've hit some of those. Some opportunities that weren't given to me because I I'm just not the one. That's not what I'd like to earn my job because I've auditioned, I've done well, and I fit it, not because I did any kind of favors. So those are some of the challenges. And then, being a woman of color going to an audition, so I've done quite a bit of commercials in my time. Even just in this last 5 years, I remember going to a producer session, and there were 3 African Americans, and there were about 40 Caucasian people. And my husband is Italian, Filipino, Lithuanian, and he looks Puerto Rican. I know. So the role called for a couple to go in, and there was only one African American man for 2 African American women, and everybody else was Caucasian. And they actually said to me, if I wanted a chance for this commercial, that I would have to go in with him. I couldn't go in with any of the Caucasian men. And I was like, this is what? For real? For real. Like, I couldn't even, yeah. So we still face, there's still, we're still working on things.
Room for growth.
Yes, a lot of room for growth. A lot of room for growth.
We're making strides, but we still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
For myself, I'll talk as much as you'll let me. So you're gonna have to take it away or turn it off is basically gonna be what's gonna have to happen. No. I don't know if this is because of the generation I am or just because of who I am. I think when I first came to Los Angeles, there was, I think a lot of young actors, probably more female actors than male, are looking for other people to tell them who they are. Yeah. I was very much looking for some kind of definition. There was not kind of an internal core that I felt at home in, or that I felt solid in. When I was walking into a room, it truly was like, whatever the hell you want, I will try, I will be it, whatever it is that you want. So I think especially as a young woman, and being the age that I am and when I first came out here, that leaves you open to facing, what we're seeing the ramifications of today. I lost my first manager. My first manager basically fired me because I wouldn't do and wasn't willing to do the kind of jobs that he thought I was. And literally, I had the line of, well, look at you. What do you think you're made for? And I was like, and I was so ashamed when it happened. I was so ashamed. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my parents. I felt I had, the fault was mine. It was my fault for being, inhibited and, uncomfortable. So it's a tricky situation because I feel like as women we're going to be facing and have faced and will for a while. It's just, we're talking about how many thousands of years, that thing isn't, those kind of ideas of what it means to be feminine or what it means to be in this business, or it's going to take a while to change. But that I felt as an actor that I didn't come in with that a good sense of who I was. So I was just constantly looking outside of myself for people or jobs or relationships or to just tell me who I am. Give me a definition, and I would literally define myself in reference to whatever I was involved in, whether it was a relationship or a project or a group